It's now time for You Called. But you know what? I think I'm going to get to comments tonight because there are so many comments. But let's call it You Called for now.
You Called. Presented by Playground.
Your premier gaming destination located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. And tonight we're going to call this segment maybe You Messaged or You Text, because I'm seeing so many messages and Sammy's telling me we have so many messages. Sammy Cavallaro and Agnello Cavallaro back at Master Control. Bring up the messages. Awe parla. Let's go. This coming in from Lonnie Demas. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Tony, when the Habs lose this bad, does it lessen the trade value of the players they want to trade, or do GMs understand that the team is what it is and would be willing to give the Habs what they want for a player? Thanks. I think it's a combination of both. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Next. Junior Rav08 says, do you think they will give 2 first-round picks to trade up for first overall? I think the team that has first overall is not trading the pick. Next. Tony, Slavkovsky loses the puck every time he touches it. It's unreal for a first overall pick. No, it's not. There's a lot of first overall picks who lost the puck a lot at 18 years old. Joe Thornton played on the fourth line and picked up 7 points in 55 games. And believe you me, he lost the puck a lot. But when he filled into his body and filled into that frame and got experience, he was a number 1 centerman for 15 years in the National Hockey League. I'm not worried. Now, is he a generational player? No. Is he a franchise player? I don't think so either. But he's going to end up being a Rantanen kind of player for the Canadians. And if you're worried, oh my God, they should have drafted Shane Wright. I'm going to tell you right now, Shane Wright's not impressing me, man. Like he's not impressing me. He's playing on the same team as Connor Bedard, and he looks like it's unbelievable. I don't even know that Shane Wright's playing in this tournament. It's not good. I mean, Shane Wright's not looking good right now. Not at all. Next. I wouldn't worry about Slavkovsky. Put this in your head. It was not a good draft. And in the end, you know what? Maybe then the best picks ended up being Nemec and Voracek, and maybe that's Jiricek. And maybe that happens when it's not a great draft for forwards. And sometimes it ends up being it's defensemen who are leading the way. And I have to tell you, Nemec and Jiricek look great, but I'm not giving up on Slavkovsky. In 3 or 4 years, when this kid fills into his body, MJV, I think for the first time since the new management took over, they messed up not sending Slav to the World Juniors. What could they possibly have to lose for a couple of weeks? I agree with you. I think they thought he could learn more here, and I think it was a missed opportunity. I think they dropped the ball. And you know what? Pretty reasonable people. I think they probably realized that they probably didn't make a mistake. I'd love to ask them about it one day, because I bet you that if they actually think that they did, I bet you they're the type of people who would actually admit that they made a mistake. Just like Marty St. Louis will tell you when he makes mistakes behind the bench, I bet you that Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes would be willing to say that they made a mistake at the management level. I believe they made a mistake. I take a look at what Slavkovsky's done ever since the World Juniors started up until now, and I think the Canadians easily could have deprived themselves of 3 weeks or 4 weeks of Juraj Slavkovsky. And I don't even remember when was the last time he picked up a point. 7 games ago, 8 games ago? When was it? I don't know. It seems like it's been a long time. I think in those 7 or 8 games, I think he's like got 3 shots and doesn't have a point. I don't know. Could be wrong here, but I stopped counting at one point, but it's not good. All right, next. But I'm okay with it, by the way. What do you think the chances are of Pierre-Luc Dubois being a Hab next year? Well, it all depends on whether or not they're able to draft a player that's going to end up being a centerman. If they draft Leo Carlson, I don't think they're going after Pierre-Luc Dubois. If they draft Fantilli, I don't think they're going after Pierre-Luc Dubois. If they draft Dvorsky, I don't think they're going after Pierre-Luc Dubois. By the way, Fantilli I'm not overly impressed with what I've seen at the World Juniors. Now, one tournament won't break a player, but I'm not overly impressed. Next. Not sure if Fantilli's number 2 at this point. If without being a draft expert, I think right now, today, Bedard's number 1 and Leo Carlson is number 2. That's what I think. Next. But I could be wrong. The only thing that is a team built around Bedard, Caulfield, and Suzuki will be too small to win. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I don't buy this too small, to this, to that. Back in the day, yes, the Canadians were small and they didn't have enough size. Today, hockey's played a different way. It's played with speed. It's played with pace. Talent takes over. And the second you put your stick on somebody or interfere with somebody who's small, you're going to the penalty box. National Hockey League wants goals to be up. Now, can you win in the playoffs by being small? Look, Suzuki, by the way, doesn't play small. Neither does Caulfield. I get it, though. They're small. One's 5'11", one's 5'7". I get it. Just surround these guys with big guys. And you know what? They're going to be surrounded by a Kirby Doc. They're going to be surrounded by a Josh Anderson. They're going to be surrounded by a Uri Slafkovsky. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I want to take this opportunity, by the way, to wish Kelly a very happy birthday. Happy birthday, Kelly. And thanks for watching, listening, and all your support over the last little while here. We appreciate it. It's Kelly's birthday. And if you're wondering who Kelly is, if you're following on YouTube Live, there's only one Kelly. There's only one Kelly. Oh, by the way, a shout out to, hold on a second here. Let me go to it. Wendy. Shout out to Wendy, who says that her and her husband watch the podcast all the time. They're from Toronto, and they're going to be coming to Montreal next week. And they'd like to know if they could actually meet me for a coffee or for lunch or whatever. And I said, sure, I'd love to meet you and your husband. So to Wendy and her husband, I also say, hello, how you doing? I'll see you next week. Back to the comments. What did you think about Massar? He set up a really, really nice goal yesterday. He's got playmaking ability as a winger. And I think that one day he's going to be on a line with Slafkovsky, if Slafkovsky isn't going to be on a line with Suzuki and Caulfield. And anyway, you know what? Massar's got a future in Montreal. I think he's going to be a good player for the Canadians. How many goals? I don't know. But you know what? He'll be a top 9 for sure. Next. What do you think of possibility that my Rangers would trade with Montreal for Lafreniere? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because I would imagine the price to pay is going to be high. And you know what? He's going to be out of his entry-level contract at the end of this year. He's going to end up probably signing a bridge. He'll probably end up going, up $3 million a year. And then after that, the bridge is a couple of years. And then he's going to be ready for the long-term deal. The Canadians aren't. I wouldn't do it just yet. Look, it all depends. At the end of the day, it all depends on what the price to pay is, right? If the price to pay isn't much, well, then obviously you take a chance on Lafreniere, who's clearly better than what he's demonstrated so far at the National Hockey League. But if they want a top pick in the draft, or if they want that top pick in the draft, thanks, but no thanks. You're going to have to work out another deal if you want that to happen. If they want Josh Anderson and another pick for Alexis Lafreniere, no problem. Done. They want the Canadians' first pick in the draft, not happening. Next. Do you think management should also be looking for a future goalie? Of course they should. This coming in from Maiolo, Montreal. That's my buddy Giovanni Maiolo, who makes eggplant fritters, it's basically eggplant fried, rolled up into a meatball, and with a very, very hot melted gorgonzola cheese on top. And every time I go to his restaurant, I eat that eggplant fritter like I'm going to the electric chair like 10 minutes later. And last time he was on, because he gave us a call, I think he offered to send me some. Giovanni, don't go out of your way. But the more you send, the better it is. I'm a big fan. Give him a 5-star rating, by the way you would give the Sick Podcast a 5-star rating. By the way, do you know that I got a 3-star rating? My last rating on Google, Apple, or Spotify, I got a 3-star rating. You want to know why? Because someone said that he loves the podcast, but he's sick and tired of me talking about my looks. At the beginning, he thought it was funny, but now I brought it up so many times that it's not funny anymore. So because of that, so he loves the podcast, but because I make jokes about my looks that I'm good looking, he actually gave me a 3-star review instead of a 5-star review. You know what? I realize I can't please everyone. Really, I do. But if your only knock on the podcast is that I talk about my looks and I talk about my hair or my bluish green eyes, and you're willing to knock off 2 stars because of that, like that's cheap. Like that's not cool. Like what I would think is this is fair. You put a 5-star review and you say, I love the podcast. I really don't care for Tony talking about his looks. But at the end of the day, the content is what I want it to be. The interviews are what I want. The passion is there. The energy is there. The chat is there. The fan engagement is there. So, but Tony, if you can, talk less about your looks. And then we're cool. But to write that you love my podcast, but you don't think it's funny anymore that I talk about my looks and you give me 3 stars, very unfortunate. You know that 3-star rating really affects like a lot of things down the line. I was very disappointed, by the way. It actually broke my heart and ruined my day. As a matter of fact, I think it already ruined my 2023, and 2023 just started. Now, obviously, when I talk about my looks, like I'm playing around. You know what I mean? Like just, my God. He took away 2 stars, man. Took away 2 stars. So, you know, if this hits home now, if you're listening to this and you're saying, holy geez, I mean, that's not cool. The guy took away 2 stars. Go to Google Podcast or Apple Podcast or Spotify Podcast. And when it asks you for a review, leave a 5-star and mention what you like about the podcast. Thank you. Leaving 5 stars goes a long way because this 3-star review, it's like kind of affected in a very negative way my life. Very disappointed about it. Very upset about it. Next. Would you trade Slafkovsky for Lafreniere 1-for-1? No, I wouldn't. Now, you see, unlike several others in the business who wouldn't answer that question because in a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years from now, they might end up looking stupid with their answer. Here, we don't run away on the Sick Podcast with Marinaro. We don't run away. We don't run. We don't hide. We face the music. You ask me a question, I give you my opinion. If I look good, I look good. If I look like an idiot in due time, it won't be the first time, and it's not going to be the last. But we're not going to run. You know those shows where no one gives you an opinion? Well, I like this, but I don't like that. I think this could be good, but I think that could be bad. Oh, what do you think of this? Well, I think this is good. I think this is bad. No, but if you had to say one thing, what would it be? No, it's a little bit of this, a little bit. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. That's other place. We don't do that here. Here, we give you an opinion, right or wrong. We give it to you. That's it. That's all. Away par la. I'm Marination. Are we taking any more comments or what? What's the story here? We'll take 1 more or 2 more. What do you think of signing Jacob Vrana? He's got talent. He's got talent. Yes. And he's got an ability to score goals, and he's got a good wrist shot. But I think they're going to have several of those players going forward. Now, same time, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens at the draft. And we'll see if the Montreal Canadiens are going to play the free agency game. Usually at free agency, you overspend. That's what you usually do. You overspend. I'm Marinaro, and that clip you just watched is from our most recent episode of the Sick Podcast. Once again, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free, and you'll be notified when we go live. I'm Marinaro. Tell your friends about it. This podcast, like me, is pretty sick.